Hey guys, this is lesson 8.3 for pre-algebra. Now, this one is about slope and y-intercept. So you're going to have to take a lot of notes. So here is the first part of this lesson. So write down what's in the blue box. So slope. Take a minute, write down the blue box. Okay, slope has this letter M. Don't ask me why. I have no idea why they named it M. But in the equation, so you're going to see this equation, y equals mx plus b. That is the equation for a linear graph. Line, remember this is line from yesterday. M is the slope, and b is the y-intercept, which we'll talk about later. So you probably want to add that to your notes. Now, there's a couple different ways to find the slope. And what the slope is, it's like the slope of a line. Kind of like, I don't know if anybody skis, but if you go down something that barely has any slope, it's really low and it's easy, it's a green circle. Or you can do a black diamond and that has a really steep slope. They have to figure out the different slopes and vertical changes over horizontal change to rate each ski slope. So, if it has a positive slope, it means if I read it from the left to the right, that it's going up. If I start over here and it's going down, that means it has a negative slope. The line slants downward or the line slants upward. All right, so there's a couple different ways to find slope. And if you wrote down the blue box, you saw this first way is called rise over run. So what that means is if I pick 2 points on my line, they have to be on the line. I figure out how do I get from one point to the other point. So this one, I'm going to rise up 2, and I'm going to run over 4. So if I did rise over run, my slope, I rise up 2, and I run over 4. That means my slope is 1/2. If I look at this one, I pick 2 points on my line, and then I do rise over run. So I run over 2, and then I go down 3. So that's how it gets that negative. So if I did rise over run for this one, rise would be -3, and run would be 2. So my slope would be -1.5. Okay, so find the slope of the line below using rise over run. Okay, so I pick my 2 points that I want to get to. I go from one point to the other. So this means I'm going to run over 1, and I'm going to rise up 1, 2, 3, 4. So I'm going to rise 4 and run 1. So if I have rise as 4, my run is 1, so my slope is 4. It's positive because as I look at it, and if I start here on the left, if I start on the left and I go over, it's going up. So that means it has a positive slope. All right, so you can also use the coordinates to find slope. So this one says, find the slope of the line that passes through these points. So A is 3, -1. And B is 5, 5. Well, what they do is they label each of these points. So they say, okay, this is X and this is Y. We all know that from the previous lesson and from just knowing math. X and Y are the coordinates. Now, I can't have 2 X's and 2 Y's. So what they did is they decided, okay, I'm going to put this little 1 here because that just means it's the first X and the first Y. And then this little 2 here means that that's the second X and the second Y. Those are the 2 points that I'm going between. They're not exponents. They're just little numbers to designate which one's first and which one's second. Kind of like your place in line. So here's my equation. y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So I have this equation. So now you just have to plug the numbers in. So I want y2. So I go over here and I look, which one's y2? Well, y2 is right there, which is 5, minus y1, which is right here, which is -1. And then I'm going to divide that by x2, which is 5, minus x1, which is 3. And then I just do this problem. 5 minus -1 is 6, and 5 minus 3 is 2. 6 divided by 2 is 3. So my answer is 3 for the slope. So try these. Here is the equation. I'll write it really big right in the middle. y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So try these two problems and see what you get. Okay, so what I do first is I like to label my points. So I like to go through and say, okay, that's x1, this is y1, this is x2, this is y2. And then I plug them in. So y2 is -7 minus y1, which is -1. And then x2 is 0 minus x1 is 8. So -7 plus 1, because that's minus a negative. So -7 plus 1 over -8. So the -7 plus 1 is -6 over -8, which the two negatives cancel out, and then I'm going to reduce and make it, my slope is 3/4, a positive 3/4. All right, for this one, I'm going to go through and label my points again. x1, y1, x2, y2. So then I have y2, which is 9, minus y1, which is 3, and x2, which is -10, minus x1, which is -4. 9 minus 3 is 6, and -10 plus 4 is -6. 6 divided by -6 is -1. All right, so here is the equation in slope-intercept form. Y equals mx plus b. And this is kind of what I told you at the beginning. So write this down, y equals mx plus b. M is the slope, and the y-intercept is b. So here are two equations, 1, 2. Identify the slope and the y-intercept. So write down this equation and then write down what you think the slope is and write down what you think the y-intercept is. Okay, so if you look in this one, my slope is always next to my x. They go together, slope times x. So when I look here, I'm going to see, oh, my slope is -2 because it's right next to the x. The b, or the y-intercept, is 4. And then here, my slope is 3/4. And my y-intercept is -5, because I can't forget that negative sign. It goes with the 5. Okay, so graphing equations in slope-intercept form. So it says, if I want to graph this equation, and I don't want to make the big table and fill in all the points. You don't have to. Here is another easier way. Okay, so first, graph the y-intercept. So you look to find out where the y-intercept is, which in this case is 4. And think about it, y-intercept, what do you think that means? Well, what it means is it's going to intercept the y at 4. So I go up to 4 on the y and I make a dot. That is my y-intercept of 4 because it's going to hit the y at 4. And that's on the y-axis at 4. Now, if I do my slope, it says, use the slope to find the next point. Rise over run. Find one more point using the slope. Okay, so I have my slope is -2. So slope equals -2. So if I did rise over run, that would mean I'm going to do -2, and then I'm going to do 1 on the bottom, because anything divided by 1, its identity property, is itself. So from this point, I'm going to run 1, and then I'm going to rise -2. So that means I'm going to go down 2. So that's how I do my rise over my run. And then I connect my 2 dots, and then I draw my line. So let's try another one. So first, you're going to graph the y-intercept, which is -5. Graph the y-intercept, which is -5. Okay, that's the first step. Now I'm going to do rise over run, which is 3/4. Rise over run. So that means I'm going to rise 3 and run 4. I like to run first. I don't know why. 1, 2, 3, 4, and rise up 3. So this is rise, and this is run. And notice they're both positive, so that's why I went to the right and then I went up. So then you graph this, and I draw my line. So try this one. Y equals -x plus 4. So just draw a quick little sketch. It doesn't have to be anything fancy. Okay, so first step, I'm going to go to 4 on my Y and make a dot. And then now this one, my slope, it just says -x. Well, that means -1, if you remember. So if -1 is my slope, that means rise over run, that I have to put a 1 on the bottom. So I'm going to run 1, and I'm going to go down 1 because it's a -1 slope. And then I draw my line. All right, that is it for your notes.